Welcome back to Exhibition Stadium in Toronto, Ontario. Kevin Slayton along with Leif Pedersen. We've got the Eastern Conference playoff final for you this afternoon. The Ottawa Rough Riders advancing into the playoffs with a 5-11 record against the first place Toronto Argonauts, who got here with a 9-6-1 record. The Argos drew the bye in the first round. Ottawa had to knock off Hamilton 30-20 a week ago. And earlier, Leif Pedersen had a chance down on the field to talk with the head coach of Ottawa, George Brancato. Let's go down to Leif on the field.
I have George Brancato, the head coach of the Ottawa Rough Riders, with me. Today it's raining here in Toronto. Brutal day. Last year, the Ottawa Rough Riders were certainly the Cinderella story in the CFL. They came into the playoffs with a 5-11 record. This year, the same story. They come into the playoffs 5-11. Last week, they defeated the Hamilton Ticats. They were underdogs in that game, played extremely well. With me, the head coach of the Ottawa Rough Riders, George Brancato. But today, George, I suggested it might be a little more difficult task playing the first place Toronto Argonauts.
Well, that's right. They handle us pretty easily in the two games we played them during the season. We have a tough time stopping Conridge Holloway, and it seems like defensively they've shut us out in both games.
You know, George, in talking to some of your defensive linemen, they say that the quick release of Holloway gives them as much problem as anything else. They seem to get so close but just can't get the sacks.
Well, that's true. You know, he takes 3 steps and releases the ball. I think the job is the secondary and linebackers to jam those receivers and maybe give our line a chance to get at him. But if we don't do that, it's going to be a long afternoon for us.
Well, it's going to be a long afternoon for everybody here because, as you can see behind us, it's raining. It's very wet at Exhibition Stadium. And I wonder, I would think that would favor your team coming into this game with such an outstanding running game.
Well, we hope it does. You know, you never can tell out there where footing is. Sometimes the defensive backs have a tough time covering receivers sliding around. The ball is kept fairly dry because a new ball's put in play each time. So I don't know who it's going to favor. We'll find out in a couple of hours.
Riders less than 2 weeks ago, Skip Walker was injured early in the game and wasn't the factor he usually is. Don't expect the Argos to hold the league's leading rusher to just 24 yards 2 games in a row. And don't expect such an ordinary performance from the Ottawa offensive line.
I think we're going to have to work hard this week and working on different schemes that they did against us, and hopefully we'll have a little more success running the ball than we did 2 weeks ago. Tried to get outside last week against defenses that were stacked against us. So I think we'll be very selective in the running plays that we run and maybe mix it up on the pass on first down some.
The Argos switch to the run-and-shoot offense has paid huge dividends for the Double Blue in '82. It's especially tough on opposing linemen, intent on getting to Conridge Holloway, who wastes little time in execution.
Because he gets rid of the ball so soon, and it makes it somewhat frustrating for a defensive lineman because you can't put a great rush on because you just don't have the time. He gets rid of the ball in 1 second or 2, so really all you can hope to do is maybe that hopefully the defensive backs will hold up his receivers to throw their timing off, and therefore that may give us a chance.
And as Ottawa showed last Sunday, give them a chance, any kind of opening, and they're the type of team that will take advantage. For ESPN, Bill Bird reporting.
Welcome back to Exhibition Stadium in Toronto, Ontario. Kevin Slayton along with Leif Pedersen. You're looking live here in Toronto. The fog is beginning to lift. It was so heavy just a little while ago as George Brancato gets the Rough Riders ready, and you could barely pick up what was going on the far side of the field. But it is not that way now. Things are starting to clear up, Leif, and I'm sure that both squads love that.
Well, they certainly will. I don't think they wanted to play a game in the fog here. There you have it. Exhibition Stadium here in Toronto is situated right on
Conridge Holloway, you might remember him down in Knoxville, Tennessee. He led the volunteer attack for those 4 years when he was there. Looking to his left now, going back to the right, deep, down for Greer. About 6 for the Rough Riders now. Just past midfield, Starkey will throw it. Over the middle for Reed. He's really belted. The pass was behind it anyway. The crowd loves that hit, and it's 3rd down, and that'll be a kicking situation. Zach Henderson was the man who delivered the lethal blow on that play.
Well, there he is, Terry Greer. Wow, he had a regular season, 85%, 1,400 yards, 11 touchdowns. He's the big play man for the Argonauts. No bigger play here in this Eastern Conference final.
There's Jack Henderson again. He's from the University of Oklahoma, and he's a one-man wrecking crew. The last time these two teams met, he put 3 of the Ottawa Rough Rider players out of the game, including Skip Walker.
He cannot locate
Jerry
it.
Organ will be kicking it now for the Ottawa Rough Riders.
And boy, we talked about
Toronto
Toronto starting with a holding penalty.
That's very, very high. Coming down on the far side for Steve Ackroyd. Ackroyd down the sidelines, gets away. 53-yard touchdown pass. The kick is up and good. It's 7-0 Toronto. a flag down on the play, the touchdown play. It was pass interference against Ottawa. We will return to Exhibition Stadium in Toronto, Ontario. The Argonauts lead it 7-0 right after this.
There you see him, Jan Carinci on your screen. A little seam, and he finds it down the sidelines. And you'll see coming into your picture, number 24, John Park. He makes a saving tackle. But what a great way to start your offensive series when you're in Ottawa's territory at the 43.5-yard line.
57-yard return, and there's the man who saved the touchdown. So Carinci has put Toronto in good shape. And Leaf, one thing to note, Zach Henderson of Toronto was injured on the play where he delivered that blow against Reed of Ottawa. So we'll have to wait and see if he comes back. Condredge Holloway on his first play from scrimmage. Under heavy pressure, a flag is down. He gets away on the far side. He's run out of bounds near the first down, but don't forget the flag is down. Now when it's dropped in your backfield, it looks like it'll be holding.
Nine times out of 10, that's what's going to be called. Now, we talked today about the Ottawa Rough Riders getting that pressure on Holloway. That time they didn't get to him, but they flushed him out of the pocket, and I'm sure Bob Abilovich does not have that in his game plan. He'd like Holloway to be throwing that ball, not running it.
And you know he doesn't have that holding call in the playbook.
I'll tell you what, that is not the way you want to start your offensive series off, first series of the game, a holding.
Dorsey to kick off for Toronto. Ottawa elected to receive the kickoff after the field goal. Braisley at the 7-yard line. He's across the 20, cuts it outside, is in trouble, and down he goes as he crosses the 25. After a successful field goal in Canadian Football League, the receiving team gets the option. They can either scrimmage from the 35 or return the kickoff. So with a first down now, Starkey will operate from his own 38-yard line. The handoff goes to Skip Walker. Walker runs out of a tackle. Now he heads upfield, and he's brought down by Steve Ackroyd, but he crosses his own 50, has another first down.
Well, he's the man they're counting on today. Get that offense moving, and Skip Walker has a pickup of 14 yards there. And what a job his offensive line does for him. They had to be the definite key in Hamilton last week when they defeated the Tiger Cats. And have a look at that, Kevin. We're going to have trouble seeing the players pretty soon if this keeps coming.
Well, I mentioned it kept getting lower, and it certainly is. You can hardly see the opposite side of the field. Starkey to throw on first down. It is intercepted. John Pointer has it for Toronto, and he threw into a crowd, Leaf.
Well, he certainly did. That's a pass that Kevin Starkey would like to have over again. We talked about the maturity and the immaturity sometimes of a young quarterback. That time, definitely the immaturity. He should not have thrown that football. Watch John Pointer. We just talked about him as being one of the bright spots in that Argonaut defense. He makes the interception. And boy, Toronto Argonauts are really making their own breaks today. Second turnover for the Rough Riders here in the first quarter.
And that for Pointer is his second interception of the season. Two big plays so far, Leaf, have burned the Rough Riders.
Well, they really have, and give the Argonauts credit. They had that week layoff. We wondered how they would react to that, and I think we found out in a hurry that they're ready to play today.
Ottawa with a first down at their own 27. They miss connections on the snap, and very wisely, Starkey just covers it at the 25. Rusty Olson there to tag him down. There is Ackroyd in the Toronto secondary in there for Henderson. We mentioned that Henderson injured his ankle on the previous series. Starkey on second down will throw the ball knocked out of his hand. That's a loose football. Ottawa covers it at their own 5-yard line. Larry Titley was the man who fell on it, the center. Leon Leskowitz was the man who knocked it loose, so they will have to punt it away.
Well, there you see Larry Titley on your screen, and he does a good job of recovering that fumble. Two unfortunate plays in a row for the Ottawa Rough Riders. You see right here, it appears to me, Earl Wilson, the defensive tackle, comes through, and just as Kevin Starkey's trying to throw the football, he knocks it loose. Nevertheless, the Riders do retain possession, but they'll have to kick it away.
And they'll have to kick it out of their own end zone. Jerry Organ will do the kicking, and he'll be booting it to either Jan Carinci or David Newman, standing in Ottawa territory. And the kick is blocked. It's still loose at the 5-yard line. Reed picks it up for Ottawa, and he gets to about the 15-yard line. Ed Jackson was the man who blocked it for Toronto. Now the Argos have the football, and this crowd is loving every minute of it.
They're loving every minute of it because the Toronto Argonauts are really making their own breaks. A good punt return, the touchdown pass to Terry Greer, and now an outstanding play on the special teams. As Kevin called it, Ed Jackson, the outside linebacker, he just breaks through, no chance, up in the air, tips the football. Ottawa did recover it, but it won't matter. Toronto's in great scoring position.
You know, Leaf, it looked like on the replay, as you can see, John Park didn't even block his man. Number 24 just let Jackson come right through. Well, Bob O'Billovich is going for the touchdown. 3rd and goal. Remember, in Canadian football, 3rd down is your final down of possession. They need a yard. It's Minner, and Minner fumbles the football, and Ottawa has held, and they've recovered it. It looked like Jack Williams got on it, or made the hit, I should say, and Brazeley is the one who fell on the football. So Ottawa with a big defensive stand.
Bob O'Billovich, you see him on the sidelines. He can't believe it. It appeared as though Cedric Minner was going to be into the end zone for the touchdown, but 75, Rick Sovieta, comes through from his linebacking position, and he gets a hand on the ball and strips it loose. Carl Brazeley makes a recovery, and what a break for the Riders.
The fog creeping in off Lake Ontario, and it's getting harder and harder for these players to see down on the field. 20 years ago, they had a Grey Cup final here that was suspended in the 4th quarter. They had to replay the final 5+ minutes the next day because of the fog. Holloway wants to go for all of it down the near sideline, and he's got his man. That is Pearson for the touchdown. McGee with a great block, but Pearson has the Toronto touchdown.
Well, there he is, Paul Pearson, the fine Canadian slapback from the Simon Fraser University, and Conrad Holloway. Pearson running an out and up down the sidelines. Charles Johnson, there's no way he can stay with him. A fine catch. And watch the block coming in here. You can't quite see it from Scott McGee. I'm sure from another angle we'll see that fine block. But there he is. That's not bad offense, Kevin, when you go 62 yards in just 2 plays. And boy, oh boy, the Toronto Argonauts done their homework, and they ever ready today.
Well, you recall they just took 2 plays to score their first touchdown. That came on a 53-yard bomb from Holloway to Greer. So Dorsey is on for the extra point. That was the final play of the first quarter, by the way, and his boot is perfect. So Toronto now has upped their lead to 19-0, and they lead over the Ottawa Rough Riders at the end of this first quarter. We will return to Exhibition Stadium for more live playoff action right after this.
We'll get a chance here to see that great touchdown reception by Paul Pearson. You know, already in this first half, Conrad Holloway 5 for 7 for 159 yards and 2 DDs, and that shows you why right there.
Carinci and Newman waiting for Jerry Organ's punt. They are standing at about the Ottawa 48. A bad snap. He's in trouble again, and he just elected. Holloway will throw on 2nd down. Down the middle he goes, and he's got his man David Newman. Newman tries to get a block, slips and falls as he tries to cut it upfield. And the hit was made by Brazeley, making sure that he stayed down. Terry Greer tried to throw the downfield block, a pickup of 24 for David Newman. First down at the 24-yard line for Toronto. Holloway will throw. They don't make any bones about it. They don't keep anybody in the backfield. For Greer in the end zone, Brazeley nearly intercepts it, drops the football. Lots of pushing and shoving going on in that end zone, Leaf.
Well, there certainly was, and the official choosing not to make a call there, but give Carl Brazeley some credit. You know, he was burned already early in the first quarter by Terry Greer. That time he stays with him step for step, man-to-man coverage, and Carl Brazeley really had a good shot at picking up the interception here. Not the greatest pass Holloway's ever thrown, but look at the good position Brazeley has that time.
That's the first time Holloway has misfired. Carl Brazeley, the 5'11", 175-pounder out of Kentucky. It is 2nd and 10 for the Argonauts, moving from the Ottawa 24-yard line and leading it 9-0. So Dorsey will attempt it from about the 27-yard line. It'll be a 27-yard field goal out of Jan Carinci's hole. On a pretty difficult angle. The ball is up, and it is good. So Dorsey adds 3 points to the Argos' lead, and they now lead Ottawa 12-0 with 2.5 minutes left in the first quarter. A pickup of 15. They've got a first down. This is Skip Walker. Tries the right side, runs into trouble, breaks out of that, tries to cut it back, still on his feet, won't go down, and he's finally pulled down. Harold Woods was the last man who had a hand on him, but the man who forced him out of the original hole was Rick Moore, number 76.
Kevin, one thing that's interesting, you know, there's been so much talk here in Toronto this week about the rushing of Skip Walker, but he really hasn't. They played the Argonauts twice this year, of course, lost both games to them, and he really hasn't had good games playing against them. And there's Paul Pearson. He scored that 2nd touchdown for the Argonauts. Fine receiver coming into this game through the regular season, 62 receptions, just missed that 1,000-yard mark, but 972 yards.
You know, Ottawa looks upon these deficits as some sort of an appetizer. They trailed Hamilton 17-0 a week ago, and they came back to win it. Holloway wanted to go outside for Greer. Now he gets away, and he can move it. On the far side, slides down at about the 44-yard line of Ottawa. Ricky Ray was giving chase, but Conrad's Holloway has another Toronto first down, a pickup of 15 yards on the play. He's had such a sensational season for the Argonauts, all-time best in a single season for completions and yardage. And remember, the likes of Joe Theismann played for the Argonauts. This is Bronk on the handoff over the left side, and he bowls his way for about 5 or 6. The fog is lifting once again here in Toronto, so Leaf is playing games with us. It was not too bad at kickoff, then it got worse. Now it's gotten better again.
Actually quite pleasant now, and you know, for this time of the year up in Toronto, Canada, we can see snow on the ground and some cold temperatures. We're very fortunate that we have this type of day, and I know for the players, they're enjoying this type of weather.
Dean Dorsey will try for the field goal from about his 47. Carinci will be holding. They try to add 3 more. It is blocked at the line of scrimmage. Seymour bursting through. He wants to pick it up, and he finally is one of the players that helps cover the football. I'm not sure if it was Seymour that actually blocked it. Finally falling on it was Jonathan Sutton. We'll return to Exhibition Stadium for more Ottawa with a big break. Let's see if they can capitalize. We'll return right after this. Starkey still in at quarterback for Ottawa, so Isaac's still waiting patiently on the sidelines for his chance on first down. Starkey will go to the air. He's got a man wide open, and it's intercepted. Merv Walker intercepted the football. His receiver was wide open, Carl Powley, but Starkey hung the ball up there, almost like a punt.
He really did, Kevin. That's an excellent observation. Carl Powell, who they say maybe is the fastest man in Ottawa Rough Rider history, he was at the camp of the Washington Redskins, but you hit it right on the head. Kevin Starkey just quite simply hung this ball too high. Powell wide open, but Merv Walker, who was covering Pat Stokewood, the inside receiver, had a chance to get over and make that interception. There you see Merv Walker. He's been a big addition to that secondary of the Argonauts this year.
He came a long way from the inside hash mark all the way to the sidelines to make that interception. Holloway now will throw the football on second down, and he's got Greer, and that is close to a first down, and I believe he's got it. Ricky Ray was defending, but Greer is just too strong.
Well, when you've got a receiver that finished the regular season with 85 receptions, no surprise to me that when the pressure's on, he's the guy you're going to go to. Just a simple out pattern, but Carl Bracely, the cornerback, he has to respect the speed of Terry Greer. He's been beaten once deep already, and he'll have to give up those out patterns.
12-yard pickup for the Argos, and that's a big play. They got themselves out of a hole. They were at their own 6-yard line. Holloway now to throw it on first down. Steps inside the rush, and now throws for Greer, and Greer makes a diving catch, coming back right in front of Bracely. Leaf, when he threw that football, Greer wasn't even paying attention. He was just a decoy.
Well, you're absolutely correct. You know, Holloway rolling to the left side of the field. Greer was not in the pattern. He was just really standing around. Holloway says, listen, I got to get you involved here. And he just threw the ball to the outside where Bracely couldn't make a play on it. And Greer made an outstanding catch.
Picked up 2 yards on that play, just 23 yards unofficially on 7 carries for Walker. He had 253 yards and broke a Canadian playoff record a week ago. Starkey in trouble, and he's bulldozed down. Tim Berryman lays his shoulder on him. And so Ottawa will have to punt it away once again. And Chris Isaac has to be talking to himself on the Ottawa sideline. When am I going to get my first down? The quick screen to Terry Greer, cuts it inside, has plenty of blockers, goes back outside, and now it's going to be a foot race, and he loses it. He's knocked out of bounds on the far side. It was Billy Hardee that caught up with him. But my goodness, is that Greer an exciting football player when he gets his hands on the ball. Leaf, he didn't even wait for his blockers. He just said, see you later.
You're absolutely right. He just has that blinding speed, and when he gets into the open field, is he ever an exciting performer? From Alabama State, number 10, Terry Greer. And when he breaks it downfield, watch the block. Here he is, number 32, Dave Newman on Charles Johnson. Not only a good receiver, Newman a good blocker downfield as well. But there's Terry Greer, 5 catches, and boy, oh boy, has he been the #1 man for the Argonauts this year.
5 catches for 143 yards. That play covering 43 yards. And now Holloway going for him in the end zone. No flag is dropped. Greer wanted an interference call. He says Bracely was holding him, but the referee says no dice, and it'll be second down with 4:10 left in the first half.
Yeah, they had a little pushing and shoving going on there, but You know, Carl Braisley, he has his right to play the football as well, and I'm sure that's the way the officials saw that play.
So it'll be 2nd and 10 for the Argonauts from the Ottawa 15-yard line. 11 first downs thus far for Toronto, 6 for Ottawa.
Kind of tells the story. The Rough Riders just really haven't been able to get anything going here in the first half, and when they have, mistakes have cost them.
A big day for Conrad's Holloway through the air, better than 250 yards. He's hit on 11 of 15 so far. 2nd and 10. He's going to have to hit on this one. He lost it in the corner for Greer. Touchdown, Toronto. Braisley was beaten again.
Well, there he is, Terry Greer, who's just enjoying an outstanding first half here as well as the entire season. 6 catches, 158 yards. Boy, does Conrad's Holloway put the ball in the right spot over that outside shoulder, leading him towards the sidelines where only he can make the catch. No way Carl Braisley can make the play there. Second time Braisley's been burned.
Leaf, when they're covering a guy like Terry Greer one-on-one, has Dorsey on for the extra point. I'll develop it in a moment. The kick is good. Should they be switching their defense around? Braisley can't stay with them on single coverage.
Well, you would have to think with 6 defensive backs that they're using today that they could maybe have some safety slide over who's free in behind and maybe help Carl Braisley out when Terry Greer goes on those deep patterns. It doesn't be the case. I suggest they make some kind of defensive switch because that man on your screen right there, he's doing a number on that Ottawa secondary.
6 catches, better than 150 yards, and 2 touchdown catches. Chris Isaac loosening up on the Ottawa sideline. It's pretty much a sure bet that we're going to see him when Ottawa takes over. But with 3:47 left in the first half, you wonder if the Rough Riders didn't wait until it's too late. 26-0. Toronto leading in this Eastern Conference Championship game. Now you look for the big defensive play, Leaf, perhaps from the Rough Rider defense. If they can pick one off and carry it in for a score, give them a big lift going in. Holloway's going to throw it. They want more points, and he's going deep. He's got a man wide open. It's McGee making the leaping catch at about the 49-yard line, and that's a first down. Ricky Barton was over there to make the stop, but nobody was covering McGee, and that's a 28-yard play. Unselfish player, you might recall. He's the man who threw that block on the touchdown pass to Pearson. Over the middle it goes. It's complete to Pearson, and he's across the 50-yard line of Ottawa. John Sutton was the man who brought him down. 14-yard pickup, and Holloway is just having a field day.
Just having success with everything they're trying to do.
So it's another first down for Toronto. Holloway again in the air, and he throws it across the middle to Cedric Minner out of the backfield. Soviano makes the tackle, but not before Minner has a first down at the 33 of Ottawa, and with 1 minute and 3 seconds left, they're not content with sitting on the lead. And Leaf, I think that answers our question that we asked at the top of the show. Are the Argonauts tense? Will it hurt them laying off a week?
Well, it certainly has at the second-year pro from Boise State, Cedric Minner. I said coming into this Eastern Final, 61 receptions. Great year for the running back, and boy, is he a talented player.
15-yard pickup. Holloway 15 of 19, over 300 yards. He's gone for the touchdown to Newman. He gets crunched at the 5, but he hangs on. Billy Hardy said hello, but it was a great pass from Holloway and a great catch by Newman, and they pick up 28 yards, and it's first and goal.
Conrad's Holloway, is he ever hot? And Dave Newman is hot as well. He makes a great catch. He knows he's going to take the hit from Billy Hardy, but it's his job as a receiver. That's what you have to do. You know you're going to take your licks, but he makes the catch. Good concentration. The Argonauts, they're just coming up with big play after big play.
Newman out of the University of Missouri, not Missouri State, with that big catch, and it's first and goal from the 5 for Toronto. They've marched nearly the length of the field for this touchdown. The quick pitch comes outside the block, and he carries it down the left. Touchdown, Toronto. There is a flag down. And it is against Toronto. Receptions for Greer, the man we were talking about, 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm sure Holloway will put it in the air, second down from the 10-yard line. He's going to do just that. Wants to go for Newman. Newman turns it upfield. He claims he was interfered with. And Leaf, he may have a case.
Well, he was running a little flat pass and then turned it upfield, and he was bumped. And he might have a bit of a case for interference. interference there. Nevertheless, it will not be called. The Toronto Argonauts were stalled. That procedure penalties cost them a touchdown, as it turns out.
Dean Dorsey will come on. Holloway was arguing for the Toronto Argonauts cause, but to no avail. And Dorsey will have a tough angle from which to boot this one. Carinci will be the holder. Let's see where they'll put it down. They're going to spot it at about the 17-yard line. He's already booted a 27-yarder, and he's had one block today. 26-0 is the count right now. It's down, it's up, and he's got it. So Dorsey nails it from 17 yards out. Toronto goes on top 29-0 as the rain starts to come down once again here in Toronto. A big first half for the Argonauts, just 14 seconds remaining. And we've talked much about Ottawa's ability to come back, Leaf. They were down 17-0 at one point to Hamilton a week ago, trailed 17-3 at the half, came storming back to win it. 29 points is a long way to come back from.
Well, at halftime last week, they were only down by 14, and with 30 minutes of football to play, you can come back using your running game. Today has to be a different story. They're going to have to put the ball up in the air if they want to have any chance of coming back from 29 points. Let's just go over a few of these statistics that the Argonauts have amassed here in the first half. Condridge Holloway, of course, 16 of 23, 354 yards and 3 TDs. That sounds like a total game total, but you have to remember that's just the first half. Terry Greer is fine wide receiver, 6 catches, 158 yards, 2 DDs. Dave Newman, 3 for 64, and of course the fine slot back as well. Paul Pearson, 2 for 76 and 1 TD. So you can see by those statistics alone how much they have dominated the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Deep for the Argonauts to receive Jerry Organ's kickoff will be Townsend, number 30, Heath, number 24, and Greer, number 10. And that man, number 10, Terry Greer, has just put on, as we said, a spectacular show thus far. Oregon steps into it. We're underway in the second half. It comes down to Heath at his own 10-yard line. JoJo Heath with a seam up the middle. He breaks into the clear, and he's brought down. He was slowed first by the kicker, Jerry Organ. And then jumping over to help out also defensively on the stop, it looked like it was Collymore. 2nd and 10, Toronto at their own 48-yard line. Holloway to the air again. Once Greer, he's got him first down. He's just taken Carl Brazeley apart on that far side. And it's another first down, a pickup of 12 on the play. And they just can't stop him. The fog is completely lifted here at Exhibition Stadium, and you'll be able to see everything clearly in the second half.
We suggested that this might be a pattern that the Argonauts would use after they completed those long passes to Terry Greer. They have used that out pattern successfully, and I think they could just go down the field throwing that pattern right now. They got Carl Brazeley totally confused on that corner.
The Rough Riders have decided enough's enough. They were embarrassed in the first half defensively. Donnie Little and Brazeley drop back to kick. Dean Dorsey will be in there to do the kicking. 44-yard average this afternoon for Dorsey. He'll hit it at about his own 50. Brazeley and Little standing at about the 5 and 10-yard line respectively. He hangs it high. Brazeley at his 5. He's going to try the return. Nice move, and he gets away at the 20. The 25-yard line. Loose football, and Toronto has it. Steve Aykroyd is the man who fell on the football. Fourth turnover of the day for Ottawa. You don't like to see that statistic if you are George Brancato, the head coach of the Rough Riders. First down, Holloway, the reverse to Greer. He's got a picket line forming. Johnson coming up to try to force it, can't get him. And Greer is finally run out of bounds by John Sutton, number 27. You can see it coming, a pickup of 15. Charles Johnson, Leaf, actually came up in good position, but he was too far inside, and Greer just put a move on him and then danced around the corner.
When you're the defensive end, you have to keep that containment. Jim Piaskowski lost it there, but Terry Greer makes a good play against Charles Johnson. As you mentioned, Kevin, it appeared as though Johnson had broken down in a good football position, ready to make the tackle, but when you have the outstanding speed of a Terry Greer, you can make some people look pretty bad.
Second down and 10 from the 19. The quick screen for Greer. He cuts it upfield, and he's inside the 10 and very close to the first down. John Glasper got back to make the tackle, and where they spot it from our vantage point, he has the first down. It is first and goal at the 8.
Well, there's Terry Greer, and It's tough to fault a guy like him who's had such a great game, but I think if he'd maybe followed his blocking a little better, he could have taken it into the end zone, because he had Roland Mangold in the center, number 53, Doug Smith out in front, and really disregarded their blocking. Decided to cut it back in. John Glassford made the play.
Well, the crowd has gotten their wish here in Toronto. Bob Obilovich, you see him on the sideline, a look of concern on his face. He's going for it. Third down in Canadian football is your final down of possession. The end around for Greer. He's got a touchdown, but we've got a flag down. Braisley was the man who was blocked illegally, and there to make the illegal block was Dan Perron, number 69, and the referee saw it clearly.
Well, Kevin, you got the good eyes working for you today, because you called that play perfectly. Terry Greer did get into the end zone, but number 69, Dan Ferroni, the offensive left guard of the Argonauts, will be called for holding against the cornerback, Carl Braisley. And once again, mistakes take the Argonauts out of scoring position, and the field goal team will have to come on the field as it's third down.
But already Dorsey has been successful on 2 of 3 field goal attempts, and this one will be a chip shot for him from about the 19. He's had one blocked, however. He steps into it, gets it off cleanly, and it hit the upright and bounced off, so the Argonauts, with a golden scoring opportunity lead, come away empty-handed, and that is something to remember if Ottawa can mount some kind of a drive in this football game. He's had one blocked, and as I said, he had to cover a bad snap for a safety. He drives this one, sending the man way back. It's Carinci at about his 15. He trips over.
Well, there you see the AstroTurf here at Exhibition Stadium, and there's a rip in it. There's a lot of seams throughout this AstroTurf, and some of the players at certain times have complained that they could catch their cleats in there. It appears as though maybe that's what happened to Greg Marshall, and it appears as though Zach Henderson, who has not returned to the lineup, caught his leg in there and has stretched knee ligaments in one of those seams.
Isaac will throw from his own 29-yard line, sneaks it over the middle, and Reed really takes a hit from Jackson. Ed Jackson, 6'3", 220-pounder from Louisiana Tech. Drilled. So the Argos will go at it first and 10 from their own 35-yard line with 5:50 left in the third quarter. You're watching live from Toronto. There is Zach Henderson leading on the crutches. You mentioned a moment ago, Lee, the first and second play of the game. He made a ferocious hit on Reed and caught his leg in the seam and stretched some knee ligaments. There is Donnie Little, number 10. Folks in Austin, Texas, very proud of their alum. The quick pitch to Walker. He's got interference out in front of him. He heads for the corner of the end zone and is in. So Ottawa is on the scoreboard with just 37 seconds left in the third quarter. And for them, that is a big lift.
Well, we suggested that the Argonauts not let the Ottawa Rough Riders off the hook. They let them get into the end zone. Watch the great block. 68, Val Belcher. 64, Tim Hook, the right tackle. And Skip Walker follows that blocking perfectly. There it is. He knows how to set up those blockers, and he's into the end zone with Ottawa's first touchdown of the ball game. And look out, 29 points is a lot, but Ottawa's starting to put something together. Defense has played well, and now the offense has come through.
Oregon on for the extra point. A bad snap. He gets it up. Let's wait and see. Did he kick it through or not? I've not seen any indication from the referee. Now they say it is good. The snap bounced to the holder, and Oregon was able to kick it through there anyway. So Ottawa leads it 29-7 and will return for more live football action after this. Oregon, number 71, getting set to boot it. And there they go. They loft it high for the far side. Carinci is over there, and he makes the catch. He was tackled by Donnie Little at about the 45-yard line, so they tried it, but perhaps he kicked it a little bit too far, Leaf. This will be the last play of the third quarter. The inside handoff to Newman on the slot back reverse. Newman with a great move. Gets inside the 40. Braisley brings him down. Loose football, and it's going to be lost to Toronto. So that is the end of the third quarter. Toronto with a big play from David Newman. Stadium for the fourth quarter right after this. We are back live at Exhibition Stadium, Toronto, Ontario. Kevin Slayton along with Leif Pedersen. This is the Eastern Conference Championship game. Toronto leading Ottawa 29-7 as we begin the fourth quarter. Don't forget, second part of our doubleheader today on ESPN. Live with Fred White and Paul McGuire. Edmonton and Winnipeg will do battle for that Western Conference Championship. Of course, Edmonton, the four-time defending Grey Cup champions. And the Toronto Argonauts battling the Rough Riders here. One of these teams will hope that they have a say in derailing that Edmonton Express. Dean Dorsey is on, number 12 for Toronto, out of Karinsey's hold. It'll be a 47-yard attempt. He is 2 out of 4 already today. He bangs this one. He may have enough distance on it, but it's off to the side. And so Brazeley touching it back in his own end zone, not returning it. That gives Toronto a point. You can get a point on a missed field goal in Canadian football. And Brazeley touched it down on the end zone. Many of our viewers, Leaf, would wonder why he didn't attempt to run it out.
Well, that's true, and once again, here's the move on isolation by Terry Greer, turning Carl Brazeley around. Makes the catch, but unfortunately out of bounds, just ran out of territory. But as you mentioned, Kevin, that is true in the Canadian Football League. A single point can be made on a missed field goal, as well as a punt into the end zone that is not returned. When that single point is given up, the ball comes out to the spot that the field goal was missed if it's outside the 35-yard line.
Walker with a gaping hole over the right side. He's up near midfield before he's bowled down. First down for Ottawa. Why would Brazeley elect to give away the point in that situation? Leaf, you're already trailing 29-7.
Well, I think that only makes it 23 as opposed to 22 points, and really to get that field position. It came back out to the original line of scrimmage, and I think that being the case, a much easier spot on the field for their offense to operate from.
Out of North Texas State, 1st and 10, Ottawa at the 32 of Toronto. Isaac will throw. He better get out of there. He's in trouble, and down he goes. Rick Moore caught him from behind. The one thing that Ottawa has going against them, of course, is the clock and the score. 30-7 Toronto, 9:15 left. He's got to throw it. Heavy rush. He gets away. From behind, he's hit in front. Leon Leskowitz made the hit. He made the initial charge and then finally caught up with it.
Leon Leskowitz coming from that defensive tackle position. Chris Isaac slowing up. He cannot cross that line of scrimmage, of course, before he throwing the football. And this enables Leskowitz to come in from behind and put enough pressure, put the hit on him. So that pass fell incomplete, short of the receiver. Toronto Argonauts really dominating the Ottawa Rough Riders. It would have been interesting to see, and Ottawa scored on that possession, tightened this game up a little bit, but now the job is for the Toronto Argonauts to try and play ball control here and eat up that clock.
And they'll do it with the aerial game. The quick screen to Greer. It's been successful all day. A fine tackle, a shoe-top tackle by Ricky Barton. And that saved it from Greer gaining about 15 more because he had lots of folks with him in blue jerseys on the near side.
The one difficult thing when you live by the pass is that when it gets to this time of the ball game, when you want to chew up those seconds on the clock, and you have to go to that running game, and you haven't got the good eyes working for you, you must have got lots of sleep last night because you spotted that they did not pick up the first down. Of course, Ottawa declining the penalty, and they will retain possession, or excuse me, they will get possession of the football after the Toronto punt.
You saw the attendance, better than 40,000 on hand in very eerie, gloomy weather today. Rain starting to fall. It's been a Jekyll and Hyde kind of day. It began under heavy fog and light rain. By halftime, the fog said adios. The sun came out. Now here in the fourth quarter, it's starting to pour. Isaac will put it in the air. For Avery, it is intercepted by JoJo Heath. Heath across midfield. He's going to go down the sideline. One man to beat. Nobody will catch him. It's a Toronto touchdown.
Well, that just about seals it for the Ottawa
go to the Grey Cup. 6 minutes left, 37-7. The Argonauts lead the Rough Riders.
Well, the Toronto Argonauts have not been in that Grey Cup final in a long time. 1971 was their last appearance when they lost to the Calgary Stampeders 14-11. But these, as you saw a picture of these fans here in Toronto, they're excited. They know their club's going to be in there now with 6 minutes and 1 second left in the ball game. They'll be in that Grey Cup next week.
And it'll be right here in Toronto.
Here's another look at that interception by JoJo Heath. Jeff Avery falls down on the play, slips on that slippery turf, and JoJo Heath nevertheless makes a good play. He had the good coverage and nice effort to get down that sidelines. And he's in his first year with the Toronto Argonauts, as I mentioned, from the University of Pittsburgh, and what a tremendous play that was.
Well, it's been 30 years since Toronto won a Grey Cup. Way back in 1952 when they beat Edmonton 21-11.
Listen to that crowd here at Exhibition Stadium. These fans are really showing their appreciation. They're on their feet, they're cheering, they're waving flags. They know they've got this game well in hand. It has been a dry spell here in Toronto for football. The Argonauts this year, of course, clinched first place on the last game of the season, are now going to win the Eastern Final, and of course next week we will see them in the Grey Cup. And there's no more deserving fans in North America than these Toronto fans. They've supported the Argonauts through thick and thin.
Well, a typical example of that would be this afternoon. Terrible weather, yet better than 43,000 come out to watch. The screen pass goes to Skip Walker. Tries to get to the outside. Straight arms one man and is brought down as he gets to the near sideline. John Pointer, number 37, was the man who finally brought the big bull down.
Quarterback now, number 17, Joe Barnes from Texas Tech. This is Joe's 7th year in the league, and you hear the fans giving him a bit of an ovation as he hasn't had a great deal of playing time this year.
Well, he's going to limber up the rusty arm. Fires down the middle. He's got his man complete. And some wide open field out there. Jeff Townsend may break it. Some nifty moves. Look at him go. He's going to the far corner. Jeff Townsend puts icing on the cake, and Joe Barnes is one happy man.
Argonauts are happy. Look at them cheering Jeff Townsend down in the end zone. Not a bad way to throw your first pass when you come into a ball game. 73 yards. Joe Barnes, as I said, has not had a great deal of playing time. Injured earlier in the season, but he hooks up with the rookie, Jeff Townsend, getting an opportunity to play here late in the fourth quarter. What a great block in the final few yards by Cedric Minner to get Jeff Townsend into the end zone and give the Argonauts full marks. They deserve all the cheers and accolades that we're giving them, as well as the fans here at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto.
He ran right through Ricky Ray, number 9. I tell you what, as we watch Dean Dorsey on for the extra point, and he bangs it through with authority. Jeff Townsend has caught 2 passes all year, and both have gone for touchdowns. And Joe Barnes, who threw the pass, 1 for 1 for 73 yards, without a touchdown, says, hey, this is easy. I should have been out here all day long.
Well, it's not a bad way to start the ball game. There's a look at Skip Walker on the sidelines. He has to be dejected. The Ottawa Rough Riders came into this game today with such high hopes of creating another upset situation. Of course, last week upsetting Hamilton, but they're the Toronto Argonaut fans. The day belongs to them, and Conrich Holloway and that entire offense, they have just played magnificently, as well as their defense. They did not let the Ottawa Rough Riders really ever get anything established.
520 yards total offense on the day for Toronto, just 228 for Ottawa. And sometimes statistics will lie, but those certainly don't. 44-7, that's the telling tale of those statistics. 44-7. Bob Obilovich in his rookie year as head coach. There's the first time we've seen him smile. An assistant coach, excuse me, for many years under George Brancato at Ottawa, and it certainly is sweet for him to beat his old mentor here today.
If you're sitting at home somewhere down in the United States and you're a Toronto Argonaut fan, you have to be happy with the events that have taken place here this afternoon. There you see head coach Bob Obilovich. What a tremendous job he and his coaching staff have done with this team. 2-14 last year. This year an appearance next week in the Grey Cup.
Hopefully for them to end 30 years of frustration. That's the last time they won a Grey Cup. The pass on the far side was incomplete. Darrell Wilson was defending, but the receiver Carl Powell slipped and fell.